my main goals for this year is to continue and to finish series that I have ongoing and to not let series rest for too long before I pick them back up again, and also to not let my list of ongoing series get too long. Today I want to talk about the series that I have right now that I've started and that I want to continue with and complete before picking up too many new series. I currently have 8 series that I am intending to continue. And so I know that that's not very many. It seems like a lot of people here on BookTube have like 40 series that they've started that they want to continue with. And that's basically what I want to avoid, because I feel like that would just get stressful and confusing, and that's not what I want. So honestly, I want to keep it to like tops 10. So I only get to start like 2 more series before I have to like actually complete something to get to add more onto this list. So I'm going to talk through those 8 series that I have today and tell you like how far I've gotten and if I've got any, immediate plans to continue with them or not. So the first one, the obvious one that I should get out of the way, is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. If you've seen any of my other videos, then you probably know that reading the Wheel of Time is like a main project for me right now. And obviously, if you don't know, the Wheel of Time is like one of the biggest and most epic adult fantasy series of all time. I started it last year. I've read the first 13 books as well as the prequel. So I am currently on the 14th or 15th, I guess you could say, book in the series, which is the last one, which is A Memory of Light. As I'm filming this, I am on page 444 out of about 1150. So I've read about 40% of the book. So this series will be checked off and taken off my series list in not too long, which is very exciting, but also stressful and all that, because I don't know how it's going to end and I don't know how I'm going to feel. I'm glad that I have stuck it through and that I will be completing that series in pretty much a year. Which isn't, it's not super impressive. I could have read it faster if that was all I was reading. Given how many other books I also read, I think a year is a really good amount of time to have read, 15 books, where most of them are huge. Several of them are over 1,000 pages in the editions that I've read. The Wheel of Time has been really exciting, and I'm glad that I am getting close to the end. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself after I finish it though. I don't know what I'm gonna go next. Now, the second series that I have is the Southern Reach trilogy by VanderMeer. This is a sci-fi horror series. The series is set in this place called Area X, which is basically being like reclaimed by nature, but nature is behaving in really strange ways. The Southern Reach is like a secret agency that is like monitoring Area X, and it's got like a bunch of scientists and they send like expeditions in. But, it's a horror also. It's sci-fi, but it's also horror. So everything is definitely not as it seems. And I read the first book, Annihilation, in 2019, which follows, a group of scientists that go into this Area X to, do sciencey stuff, take samples and all that, but then, shit goes down. And it's very creepy, it's very strange. I didn't really know what to do with it when I read it. I didn't know how to feel. And I've heard some people say that they think that other books are like worse, but I've also heard some people say that they're a lot clearer, so I don't really know. I have the second book, Authority, on my first quarter TBR, so I am intending to continue on with the series in not too long. And then there's also a third book called Acceptance, and I just saw on Goodreads that there's a 4th book listed called Absolution, but it doesn't have a release date or anything, so I don't know when that would be coming out. The 3rd book came out like 7 years ago, so a 4th book would be a little unexpected. I'm picking up the 2nd book very soon, and I'm excited to get creeped out again, I guess. The 3rd series I have is the Sandman series, which is 11 volumes of graphic novels by Neil Gaiman. It's a dark fantasy / horror series that follows the adventures of the Sandman, also known as Morpheus or Dream. So he's basically the lord of the dream world and of like the one who controls people's dreams. And if I remember correctly, it's not like one overarching plot line. It's kind of like almost like a short story collection, but not really, about like his adventures and like what goes down with him. And I read the first 3 volumes in 2019, which are Preludes and Nocturnes, The Doll's House, and Dream Country. So I definitely want to continue on with the series. I also own volume 4 and 5, which are Season of Mists and A Game of You. So I want to get at least those 2 read in this year, honestly, and then I want to get, you know, more of the volumes and finish out the series. I mean, it's graphic novels, right? So it's not that hard to read, but they do kind of mess with my head, or like they're not super accessible, or like they're a little bit more difficult than a lot of things. So I don't always like yearn to pick them up because I'm like, oh, they'll confuse me. I don't know. I guess it's mostly because I'm not really used to reading graphic novels. And so I tend to just kind of read the text and then just flip the pages like real fast, but you have to really, you know, look at the drawings too. I mean, it's part of the narrative, and I'm not really used to that. I think that's why I've struggled a little bit with Sandman, just because I'm not used to graphic novels. But I do think, you know, the character of Dream or Morpheus or the Sandman is super cool. He's got these like, I don't know, siblings. They're called the Endless. And like the other Endless all also start with D. So it's like destiny, death, destruction. I don't know them all, but they're really cool. It's a really cool concept. It's really, you know, these personifications of these really like abstract concepts in a way. And I think Neil Gaiman is just a super cool and creative writer. So I definitely want to continue on. I want to, you know Sandman. I want to know that story. And I'm excited to continue. I don't have a set plan for when I'm going to read the next 2, but I want it to be, you know, in this year for sure. At least the next 2 that I already own, but I would kind of like to pick up, you know, at least 1 more as well. The next series that I have is the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy by Kevin Kwan, which is a contemporary romance series that follows these, you know, crazy rich people in primarily, I guess, Singapore, but not only Singapore. It's also in like Hong Kong and I don't know, that kind of general East Asian rich people area. And so I've seen the movie. You've probably seen the movie too. Everyone's seen the movie. And so it follows this couple, but there's also, in the book, there's also a lot of side characters that get point of views from, you know, the family and all that. And I read Crazy Rich Asians, which is the first book in the series, in 2020. And, you know, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fun, but it wasn't like amazing. But I am a bit of a completionist and I do want to continue on. But I'm not like hankering to pick up the next book, which is China Rich Girlfriend. It's the second book in the series. I'm thinking I'll save it for like maybe the summer. I could read it on like the beach or something. I feel like that would be appropriate, or like an easy read for like the beach. And there's also a 3rd book called Rich People Problems, which, you know, maybe I'll save that for next summer or something. Summer next year. We'll see. So I'm not stressing to get the series done super quick, but also I don't want it, you know, taking up space on my, you know, series list for too long, because I do want to keep that series list down. Okay, the 5th series that I have is the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire, which is, you know, a fantasy series. It's like portal fantasy. Some of the books I think follow like the children or teenagers when they're in their magical world, and some of the books take place at this school for kids who've like gone to portal worlds and then like come back to our world, and they're like struggling to adapt to our world again, pretty much. So the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, is like at the school, and then the second book, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, is like a prequel that follows some of the characters from the first book when they were like in their magical world. So I read both of those first 2 in 2020 and really enjoyed both of them. I gave the first one 4.5 stars and the second one 4 stars. So I liked the first one a little bit more, but I still really liked the second one. And there are 4 more books that are out in the series. There's Beneath the Sugar Sky, which is the next one that I'll pick up, In an Absent Dream, Come Tumbling Down, and Across the Greengrass Fields, which just came out. And there's also been a 7th book announced already, which is coming next year, called Where the Drowned Girls Go, which sounds really cool, honestly. The books are really short. They're like novellas. They're under 200 pages, all of them, I believe. And so they're really easy and quick to get through. And, you know, I really did enjoy the first 2 books a lot. So I definitely want to continue. I could read them all really quickly, but I don't really like to binge series, so. But I definitely want to pick up Beneath the Sugar Sky in not too long. I don't know how long that will be, but in not too long. The next series that I have is the Thomas Cromwell trilogy by Hilary Mantel, which is a historical fiction trilogy set in the 1500s primarily, that follows Thomas Cromwell, who was a real person and a really important figure at the court of Henry VIII. I'm a big fan of the Tudor era, so Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, Mary I, and Edward as well. So I picked this up being really excited. I read the first book, Wolf Hall, in 2020, so in last year, and I did call it my most disappointing read of the year, which felt really sad, but it's not because I didn't like it. I did like it all right. Like, I gave it 3.5 stars, but I thought it was going to be like my new favorite book of all time, and it wasn't. But I do still want to continue on with the series, both because I'm a completionist and because I did, like it, and because I've heard that the second book is both shorter than the first book and supposedly the writing style gets a little bit easier. I don't know if that's true, but I would like to see it. And it's not so much of a thing of like wanting to know what happens, because I'm well aware of the rise and fall of Thomas Cromwell. So it's not like one of those things, like I know what's gonna happen in the book, but I do want to just, see it through, complete the series, get it done. Part of the time when I was reading the first book, I was really loving it, or like I was just really enjoying it. I could get really swept away with it, but it didn't manage to do that like all the time for me. So I'm hoping that maybe in the second book she really like perfected her style and like really managed to sweep me away fully, because that would be amazing. That would be a great experience. So the second book is called Bring Up the Bodies, which is an awesome title for a book, honestly. So that second book is the next one that I'll pick up. And then we have the third book, which is called The Mirror and the Light, which closes out the trilogy. So we'll see when I can get to that one. The second to last series that I have is the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, which is a fantasy trilogy about this world with like a bunch of different kingdoms, and they're all kind of ruled by this main family in this like main city. And that family gets like their power from the fact that they have captive gods. And so in the first book, we follow this girl from like a faraway land who gets called to the main city. Shit goes down. Like, she has a connection to the ruling family, and so she gets pulled into a bunch of their, bullshit. And I know that the following books follow like different point of view characters, so I don't really know what to expect there. I read the first book, which is The 100,000 Kingdoms. I reread it actually last year. I read it originally when I was like 16, so I didn't really remember much, but I reread it last year and liked it. So I want to continue on with the second book, which is The Broken Kingdoms, in not too long. Once again, not too long. And then I definitely want to keep going to The Kingdom of Gods after that. I've heard that the second book is kind of a standout to a lot of people, so I'm excited to see what's up with that, because I did really enjoy the first book. I want to finish this trilogy by N.K. Jemisin before I move into some of her other works, because she's mostly known to most people before the Broken Earth trilogy, and I own the first book in that series, so I definitely do want to get there. And then I also own the first book in her Dream Blood duology, so I want to get to that one as well. But before I do all that, I do want to finish out the Inheritance trilogy to just not have too many of her series open at the same time, because that just kind of feels weird to me to just like have them open at the same time. I don't know why. I mean, it's not really different than having other series open at the same time. I mean, they don't connect or anything, so I don't know, but it just makes the most sense to me to just finish the Inheritance trilogy before moving into the other ones. So I definitely want to continue on and keep that ball, moving. Okay, so the final series that I have on here is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, which is a pen name for a collaboration of two different authors. It's an epic sci-fi series, like a space opera kind of thing, and it's currently 8 books. The 9th and final book is set to be released this year. I read Leviathan Wakes, the first book in the series, in 2020, and then I just recently finished, like a couple days ago, finished the second book, Caliban's War, and I enjoyed the first book. I gave it 4 stars, and then I enjoyed the second book a little bit more. I gave it 4.25 stars, so I definitely do want to continue on. I'm really hype about the series. And so the next book in the series, number 3, is Abaddon's Gate. So I do want to pick that up in not too long, once more. The 9th and final book, Leviathan Falls, comes out in October this year. And I'm definitely not gonna like marathon the series to be like ready when the 9th book comes out, even though that would be, you know, cool. And I do really like the series, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not really a marathoner kind of person. So, but I would like to have read like at least the first like 4 books, let's say, by the time the last book comes out. I think that could be an okay goal to have. So I do want to continue on with Abaddon's Gate in not too long and then move into the 4th book, which I don't know what it's called, but I'll figure it out. Yeah, so those are the series that I currently have open and that I want to continue with. It's a pretty manageable amount, and I'm gonna finish the Wheel of Time series very soon. And so then, you know, I want to keep my open series to a tops 10 pretty much, and, you know, keep that contained. I have a tendency to just want to start new series, because obviously I want to read new things, and a lot of the things I want to read are series, so that makes me want to start series. But I'm trying to really keep that in check and to you know, keep going on series I've already started, to finish series, because it is really satisfying to finish a series. I don't really know why I would put that off. And then to also just, you know, read standalones, because standalones are great. Like, you don't have to read series all the time. But, you know, being someone who reads a lot of fantasy and is primarily pretty much drawn to fantasy, a lot of fantasy is written in series form. There's a lot of trilogies out there. These are the series that I have. If you've read them, if you've started them, if you've completed them, if you've, you know, read more than I have, please do let me know what you thought of it, and like, did it get better? Did it get worse? What's the best book in the series? Like, what's the worst book in the series? Anything you can tell me, I'd love to hear it. I don't really know what the next video I'll record is. We'll see. I'll figure it out, but I just have to get this one edited first. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.